Hey there, you looking kinda cute. Please consider subscribing and check out our Patreon for more. Enjoy the video. The flickering glow of the bat signal pierced the smoggy Gotham night sky. A lone figure perched atop a gargoyle, his cape billowing in the wind. For years, Jamie had dreamed of this moment, fighting crime alongside the Dark Knight himself. Hours earlier, he'd finally worked up the courage to approach Batman after months of training and preparation. The caped crusader had been skeptical at first, but Jamie's enthusiasm and dedication eventually won him over. There was just one small catch. "You want me to what?" Jamie's voice cracked as he stared at Batman in disbelief. "You heard me. If you want to be my partner, you'll need to assume the identity of Batgirl." Batman's gravelly tone left no room for argument. Jamie's mind reeled. But why? I don't understand. It's simple. The criminal underworld already knows Robin. They're expecting a male sidekick. We need the element of surprise. Silence hung in the air as Jamie processed the request. His lifelong dream was within reach, but at what cost? The thought of donning a dress and wig made his stomach churn. And yet... "All right," he said finally. "I'll do it, for Gotham." A hint of a smile played at the corner of Batman's mouth. "Good. Let's get started." The next few hours passed in a blur as Batman helped Jamie transform into his new alter ego. Padding was added in strategic places to create the illusion of a feminine figure. A long, dark wig was carefully styled and pinned into place. Jamie winced as Batman applied a full face of makeup with surprising skill. "Where did you learn to do all this?" Jamie asked, his voice muffled as Batman applied a coat of crimson lipstick. "You'd be surprised what skills come in handy for undercover work." Finally, it was time for the costume. Jamie stepped into the form-fitting bodysuit, zipping it up with trembling fingers. The material clung to his newly curvaceous form, a yellow utility belt cinched around his waist. Knee-high boots with a slight heel came next, followed by elbow-length gloves. Batman held up a mirror. Jamie barely recognized the person staring back at him. With the cowl in place, he looked every bit the part of Batgirl. "Remember, from this moment on, you're no longer Jamie. You're Barbara Gordon, Batgirl." Jamie nodded, trying to steady his nerves. "I'm ready." They swung into action, racing across rooftops towards the source of the bat signal. Commissioner Gordon was waiting, a case file in hand. "Joker's men have taken hostages at the Gotham Museum of Antiquities," Gordon explained. His gaze lingered on Jamie for a moment before continuing. "Good to see you again, Batgirl." Jamie's heart raced. He opened his mouth to respond, but no sound came out. Batman smoothly interjected. "We're on it, Commissioner. Batgirl and I will handle this." As they grappled to a nearby rooftop, Jamie found his voice. "That was close. I nearly blew our cover." "You'll need to work on your vocal disguise," Batman replied. "For now, let me do the talking. Focus on the mission." They arrived at the museum to find the situation already spiraling out of control. 3 of Joker's henchmen had a group of terrified tourists cornered in the Egyptian exhibit. Ancient artifacts lay shattered on the floor. "Ready?" Batman's eyes gleamed beneath his cowl. Jamie nodded, pushing aside his discomfort. Lives were at stake. They burst through the skylight in a shower of glass. Jamie stumbled slightly as he landed, unaccustomed to the heeled boots. He quickly regained his balance, striking a fighting stance. "It's the Bat!" one of the thugs shouted. "And Batgirl?" Taking advantage of their momentary confusion, Batman launched into action. His fists flew in a blur, taking down the first henchman before he could even raise his weapon. Jamie faced off against the second thug, dodging a wild swing. He retaliated with a high kick, wincing as the tight skirt restricted his movement. The henchman laughed. "What's the matter, sweetheart? Afraid of breaking a nail?" Anger flared in Jamie's chest. He feinted left, then delivered a powerful right hook that sent the man crashing into a display case. The third henchman made a break for it, sprinting towards the exit. Jamie gave chase, his heels clicking against the marble floor. He vaulted over a low barrier, his skirt billowing around him. At the last second, he launched his grappling hook, ensnaring the fleeing criminal.
"Not bad,"
Batman commented as he finished securing the other two thugs.
"But we need to work on your technique. You're still moving like a man in a dress."
Jamie flushed beneath his makeup.
"This isn't exactly easy, you know. I never said it would be."
But if you want to continue as my partner, you'll need to fully embrace this identity. No half measures. Over the next few weeks, Jamie threw himself into his training with renewed determination. He practiced walking and fighting in heels until his feet were covered in blisters. Hours were spent perfecting his makeup application and styling his wig. He even began using a voice modulator to achieve a more feminine tone. Slowly but surely, Jamie began to feel more comfortable in Batgirl's skin. The costume no longer felt quite so constricting. He found himself moving with a newfound grace and agility. Their next big test came during a charity gala at Wayne Manor. Bruce Wayne had invited Gotham's elite, knowing it would draw out some of the city's most notorious criminals. Jamie arrived in full Batgirl regalia, his stomach in knots.
"Remember,"
Batman murmured as they made their entrance,
"you're Barbara Gordon tonight, the commissioner's daughter. Act the part."
Jamie took a deep breath and plastered on a smile.
"Right, I've got this."
He mingled with the crowd, sipping champagne and making small talk. More than a few admiring glances were cast his way. Jamie felt a mix of pride and discomfort at the attention. Suddenly, the lights went out. Panicked screams filled the air. When emergency power kicked in, a familiar cackling laugh echoed through the ballroom.
"Good evening, ladies and gentlemen,"
the Joker's voice rang out.
"I do hope you're enjoying the party. I thought I'd drop by and liven things up a bit."
Chaos erupted as the clown prince of crime and his gang began terrorizing the guests. Jamie's eyes met Batman's across the room. With a subtle nod, they sprang into action. Jamie kicked off his heels, grateful he'd thought to wear a more practical pair of boots underneath. He cartwheeled through the crowd, taking down henchmen left and right. Well, well, if it isn't Batgirl. Joker's eyes gleamed with malicious glee.
"Come to join the fun, my dear." "The only place you'll be having fun is back in Arkham,"
Jamie retorted, his voice modulator adding a feminine lilt to the words. They clashed in a flurry of punches and kicks. Jamie had to admit the dress allowed for a surprising range of motion. He used every trick Batman had taught him, staying one step ahead of Joker's wild attacks. Just when it seemed Jamie had the upper hand, Joker produced a canister of his infamous laughing gas. Jamie's eyes widened in alarm.
"Smile for me, won't you, darling?"
Joker cackled, his finger on the trigger. In that split second, Jamie made a decision. He grabbed the hem of his skirt and flung it upward, momentarily blinding the Joker. Using the distraction, he disarmed the villain with a swift kick.
"Now that's what I call a low blow,"
Joker wheezed as Jamie pinned him to the ground. Batman appeared moments later, a pair of handcuffs at the ready.
"Good work, Batgirl."
As the police led Joker and his gang away, Jamie felt a surge of pride. He'd faced his fears and come out on top. Maybe there was something to this Batgirl identity after all. In the weeks that followed, Jamie continued to grow into his role as Batgirl. He found himself looking forward to donning the costume, relishing the freedom it provided. The ability to be someone else entirely was strangely liberating. One particularly memorable night found Jamie perched on a rooftop, keeping watch over the city. The cool night air whispered through his wig, carrying the ever-present scent of Gotham, a mixture of exhaust fumes, greasy food, and something indefinably gritty. A commotion in the alley below caught his attention. 3 men had cornered a young woman, their intentions all too clear. Jamie's blood boiled at the sight. Without a second thought, he launched himself off the roof, his cape billowing behind him. He landed in a crouch between the woman and her attackers, rising slowly to his full height.
"I suggest you gentlemen reconsider your life choices,"
Jamie said, his voice dripping with disdain. The men exchanged glances, momentarily taken aback. Then the largest of the 3 stepped forward, brandishing a knife.
Why don't you run along home, little girl? This ain't none of your business. Jamie's lips curved into a dangerous smile. Oh, but it is my business. You see, protecting the innocent is what I do. He moved with liquid grace, disarming the knife wielder with a swift series of strikes. The second man charged, only to be met with a roundhouse kick that sent him sprawling. The third attacker took one look at his fallen comrades and turned tail, disappearing into the night. Jamie turned to the woman, who was staring at him with a mixture of awe and gratitude. "Are you all right, miss?" She nodded, her voice shaky. "Thank you, Batgirl. You saved my life." A warm feeling blossomed in Jamie's chest. This was why he'd become Batgirl. Not for the thrill or the costume, but to make a difference in people's lives. As Jamie made his way back to the Batcave, he reflected on how far he'd come. What had started as a reluctant compromise had become an integral part of who he was. He wasn't just playing a role anymore. In many ways, he had become Batgirl. Batman was waiting when he arrived, a rare smile on his face. "I saw the police report. Good work out there tonight." Jamie beamed with pride. "Thanks, it's getting easier, you know? Being Batgirl, I mean." Batman nodded, his expression thoughtful. "I had a feeling it would. You've come a long way since we started this experiment." "Do you think—" Jamie hesitated, unsure how to phrase the question. "Do you think we could make this permanent?" Batman's eyebrows rose slightly. "You want to continue as Batgirl, even now that you've proven yourself?" Jamie nodded, surprising himself with the certainty of his answer. "I do. It's not just about fighting crime anymore. Batgirl gives people hope in a way I never could as just another guy in a costume. She's become something more." A long moment passed as Batman studied him. Finally, he extended his hand. "Then welcome to the team, Batgirl." As they shook hands, Jamie felt a sense of belonging wash over him. He'd found his true calling, even if it had come in the most unexpected package. Gotham had a new protector, and Batgirl was here to stay. The next morning, Jamie woke early, his mind already racing with plans for the day ahead. He had a fitting for some new costume upgrades, followed by combat training with Batman. But first, he had an important errand to run. Dressed in civilian clothes, Jamie made his way to a small boutique in downtown Gotham. The bell above the door chimed softly as he entered, drawing the attention of the saleswoman. "Can I help you find something?" she asked with a friendly smile. Jamie hesitated for a moment before squaring his shoulders. "Yes, actually. I'm looking for a dress for myself." If the saleswoman was surprised, she didn't show it. "Of course. Did you have a particular style or occasion in mind?" As Jamie browsed through racks of flowing fabrics and elegant designs, he couldn't help but reflect on how much his life had changed. A few months ago, the thought of shopping for women's clothing would have mortified him. Now it felt almost natural. He eventually settled on a simple black cocktail dress, perfect for the upcoming Wayne Enterprises charity gala. As the saleswoman rang up his purchase, Jamie felt a mixture of excitement and nervousness. This would be his first time appearing in public as Barbara Gordon outside of the Batgirl costume. Later that evening, as Jamie carefully applied his makeup and adjusted his wig, he caught sight of his reflection in the mirror. The person staring back at him was neither fully Jamie nor fully Batgirl, but something in between, a new identity, forged in the crucible of Gotham's dark streets. The gala itself was a whirlwind of glamour and intrigue. Jamie moved through the crowd with practiced ease, exchanging pleasantries and deflecting questions about his father, the commissioner. He even managed a waltz with Bruce Wayne himself, the two of them sharing a knowing look as they spun across the dance floor. As the night wore on, Jamie found himself on a balcony overlooking the glittering Gotham skyline. The cool night air was a welcome respite from the stuffy ballroom. "Quite a view, isn't it?" Jamie turned to find Selina Kyle, Catwoman herself, leaning against the railing beside him. Her eyes sparkled with mischief. "It's breathtaking," Jamie agreed, careful to maintain his Barbara Gordon persona.
though I imagine it's even more impressive from the rooftops." Selena's lips curved into a sly smile. My, the commissioner's daughter has hidden depths, it seems. For a moment, Jamie feared he'd given himself away, but Selena merely winked and sauntered back into the party, leaving him to ponder the encounter. As Jamie made his way home that night, he felt a sense of accomplishment wash over him. He'd successfully navigated both sides of his double life, the public face of Barbara Gordon and the secret identity of Batgirl. It was a delicate balance, but one he was growing more comfortable with each passing day. The following week brought new challenges as Jamie juggled his Batgirl duties with his civilian life. By day, he worked as a research assistant at Gotham University's criminology department, a cover identity Batman had helped him establish. By night, he patrolled the city's streets, always ready to swoop in and save the day. One particularly memorable evening found Jamie, as Batgirl, crouched on a fire escape, staking out a suspected weapons smuggling operation. The night was unusually quiet, broken only by the distant wail of sirens and the occasional car horn. A sudden movement caught his eye. A figure in black leather was scaling the side of the warehouse, moving with feline grace. Catwoman. Jamie's heart raced as he weighed his options. Should he confront her? Alert Batman? Before he could decide, Selena spotted him. She paused in her ascent, cocking her head to the side. "Well, if it isn't Gotham's newest darling," she purred. "Come to crash my party?" Jamie stood, his cape billowing dramatically in the night breeze. "That depends. What kind of party are we talking about?" Selena's eyes glittered with amusement. "Oh, you know, just a little breaking and entering. Nothing too nefarious, I assure you." "I'm afraid I can't let you do that," Jamie replied, trying to inject steel into his voice. "Can't or won't," Selena countered. "There's a difference, you know. One implies inability, the other, choice." Jamie hesitated, thrown off balance by her words. In that moment of distraction, Selena closed the distance between them. She moved with lightning speed, her whip snaking out to wrap around Jamie's wrist. "What say we have a little fun, kitten?" Selena grinned. "Cat and bat dancing across the rooftops. Isn't that what Gotham nights are made for?" Before Jamie could respond, Selena tugged on the whip, pulling him off balance. She used the momentum to launch herself onto the roof, laughing as she went. Without thinking, Jamie gave chase. They raced across the Gotham skyline, leaping from building to building. Jamie's heart pounded in his chest, equal parts exhilaration and trepidation. Finally, they came to a stop atop the Gotham clock tower. Jamie was breathing hard, his wig slightly askew. Selena, maddeningly, looked as composed as ever. "Not bad, little bat," she said approvingly. "You've got potential." Jamie straightened, trying to regain his dignity. "Is this all a game to you?" Selena's expression softened slightly. "Life's a game, darling. The sooner you learn that, the more fun you'll have." She paused, studying him intently. "You're not quite what you seem, are you? There's more to Batgirl than meets the eye." Jamie felt a chill run down his spine. Had she somehow seen through his disguise? But Selena merely smiled enigmatically. "Don't worry. Your secret's safe with me. We girls have to stick together after all." With a wink and a blown kiss, she backflipped off the tower, disappearing into the night. Jamie was left alone, his mind reeling from the encounter. As he made his way back to the Batcave, Jamie couldn't shake the feeling that his world had shifted once again. Selena had seen something in him, something beyond the costume and the makeup. It was both thrilling and terrifying. Batman was waiting when he arrived, his expression unreadable.
"I saw the security footage. You let Catwoman escape." Jamie flushed beneath his cowl. I'm sorry. She caught me off guard." To his surprise, Batman's lips twitched in what might have been a smile. "It happens to the best of us. Selena has that effect on people." They lapsed into a comfortable silence as Jamie began the process of removing his Batgirl attire. As he wiped away the last traces of makeup, he caught Batman watching him in the mirror. "Something on your mind?" Jamie asked. Batman was quiet for a moment before responding. You've exceeded all my expectations, you know. When we started this, I wasn't sure how it would play out. But you've truly become Batgirl."
Jamie felt a warm glow of pride at the praise. "Thank you. That means a lot coming from you."
"There's something else," Batman continued. "I've been thinking it might be time to make your position on the team more official."
Jamie's eyes widened.
"What do you mean?" "I mean joining the Justice League as Batgirl."
The offer hung in the air between them, full of possibility and promise. Jamie's mind raced with the implications. Joining the League would mean taking his double life to a whole new level. It would be challenging, dangerous, and absolutely thrilling.
"I'd be honored,"
Jamie said finally, his voice thick with emotion. Batman nodded, a rare smile crossing his face.
"Good. We'll make the announcement next week. In the meantime, get some rest. Gotham needs its Batgirl at her best."
As Jamie left the Batcave that night, he felt a sense of contentment wash over him. He'd found his place in the world, even if it wasn't quite the one he'd imagined for himself. Batgirl was more than just a costume or an identity. She was a symbol of hope for Gotham and now, potentially, for the world. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Patreon for a lot more content and early access to YouTube videos.